Okay. Now what?
I mean, let's just talk and see how it goes, and I'll edit
Yeah,
the
sure.
video and we'll see. Hello.
Oh my God.
So you have notes. You have nice notes. Yes, show the notes.
It's so bad.
That's nice. I mean, I forgot my notes at home, so it's- you're
Okay.
already
So
okay. Do you want to
now we have to
introduce?
present ourselves,
True,
to
true.
introduce ourselves.
So who are you, Mira?
I'm Mira, from Italy. Um, and
Oh, there's so much more to this.
there's
Mira from Italy.
from
Mira
Italy.
from Italy in her little bedroom with the little lights in the pictures. You
Yeah.
looking mystical. Um, so what are we doing here? What is this discussion?
Um, I think that we decided to talk about random things that two random girls from Italy and Quebec decided to talk about in their random days.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, we started the new year with so much energy, you and me, it feels like. And we were sending voice notes every day, being like this huge line of voice notes, never ending, with different topics in each one. And this one's about relationships, and this one's about cheating, and this one's about time and physics.
and
Um,
a lot of excitement around all these topics. So
yeah,
good.
yeah. And I mean, so we're gonna try and record this conversation and see if we can even stay on topic for a few. Um, okay, so how did we meet? How did this friendship come to be? I guess is a good starting point for this
Yeah.
conversation.
But we can start from before, maybe.
Ah, see.
Yeah,
Okay. Um,
you go.
did, we met on the farm, and so what happened before the farm?
What's which was the decision or small the small decisions that we took to arrive at the farm where we met.
Yeah, that's a good. Okay. Um, so we met a year and a half ago on the farm in Portugal. So both of us took decisions that made us go live on a farm in the middle of nowhere in Portugal. And yeah, you were a university student, a full-time university student living in a house with people and a boyfriend. So
Yeah.
I want to talk about that.
Yeah, so I go.
Go for it. Yeah.
Okay. So I was a university student and I was super into my university, but after a few months I
What were
started to
you
feel
studying?
environmental science. And I started to feel really, really bad. And I had this period of few months really in a dark moment. And thanks to that moment, I had the energy to step out of my comfort zone and to start asking myself uh more things, like deeper things, also about myself. And from that, I decided to quit university and to start traveling because was what my soul was asking for in that moment.
That's a huge step, though, to go from I'm studying university, I have the security of like, I have this path, I'm gonna get a degree, and maybe I travel after, because a lot of people say this, right? Okay, I'm gonna do my university and then I'm gonna travel, and then I'll come back to work. And, you know, you say that you were in this position to think, but how did you connect with your soul? Because that's a hard thing. I think a lot of people get into this dark space of, okay, this is not where I'm supposed to be, but then they don't know how to move from this space. How did you figure out how to move?
Uh, I'm really grateful for the pain and the grief that I passed through because from that I really had the push, the energy to start questioning more myself and because I was in a moment like where my rational and irrational were not talking. They
Yeah,
were my rational was saying something and my irrational was saying, fuck no,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
not the thing. And from that it was crazy because I was really into like keep fighting with myself with two mirror that were into my body. And so I said, that's not possible. Like, how can I do? There is something that I have to change. And there was something that at the beginning I didn't really choose because I started to feel bad without understanding why.
yeah.
But thanks to that, I decided to step by step do something for myself, to love myself, and to honor my needs and what my heart was looking for. And yeah.
But that's easy to say, but then you have to share your needs to others. Because the first step is, yeah, honoring your needs for yourself, being like, okay, I chose some things, they're not feeling right for me. Then you had to explain to others that you were changing your direction. Like, and by others, I mean also your parents, telling them that you're not going to stick to university, at least not for now,
Mhm.
and you're also going to lose friends because your friends are from university and you have your boyfriend that's with you and all this, and then you're kind of saying goodbye to all of this. Like,
Mhm.
so how is that voicing, this change?
Um, for me, on my side, I have parents that really accepted what I choose. So that really helped me.
Oh, oops. Mira, Mira, I lost you. Okay, so I lost you back there. So the question was, yeah, how was it for you to be telling, people about this change? And you were saying your parents.
Yeah, my parents always uh were always on my side, so I felt really grateful for being with them. Um, and I mean, for my boyfriend, I uh also before leaving, I we decided to break up for reason, like for different reasons. Um, and of course, it was a big part of the journey
Yeah, yeah.
that I had to go through. And for friends, I never had a really big problem accepting to lose and to find friends because I really believe that the people that are with us um like we can we attract people that are on our vibration,
Yeah,
and so if I'm losing someone probably our connection was not there, and so
yeah,
this is
yeah.
flowing and we are flowing with it.
So you're in this dark space. Things are moving in your relationship. Things are moving with your personal path and your journey. What makes you decide to travel? Have you always wanted to travel? Did you?
Yeah. uh I mean it was a thought that I had since 2 years maybe.
Okay.
And I was always looking for something, but not really um mm, straight into it. And after this shift in my life, I said, no, that's the right time. And did it really easily. Let's go
Yeah, because
by
when
my
I met
side.
you, I thought this girl has been traveling forever. You were like just this was just natural for you. It was like, walking, like breathing. It was the
Yeah.
yeah. I thought when I first met you, I thought you had been traveling for a while. And then I found out like yeah, that you had just started traveling actually, like more officially.
Yeah.
Okay. And why Portugal and why the farm?
Uh, I don't really know the like why Portugal, but I was always saying that it called me. I was really called by Portugal. And that was strange because I never thought about Portugal before. But when I started to think about a place where I wanted to go, I was really feeling like I want to go to Portugal. I don't know why. I just will follow my feeling. And that was amazing.
Yeah.
I have goosebumps, I think, where my heart brought me in my life, in my decisions. That's
Yeah.
that's such an amazing thing.
It's crazy because I was reading in my journal the summer before I went to Portugal, and I wrote in my journal um, that there were places that were longing for me, that were waiting for me, that I didn't know existed, and those places were waiting for me. And I couldn't come up with them in my head. I couldn't have imagined. And then, yeah, when I think about there's many places like this, but when I think about the farm and how I could have not imagined in my wildest dreams, I could not have, you know, pictured a place like this and the people and the events that were going to happen. And before leaving for Portugal, I was like, I don't even want to go anymore. Like, I'm feeling so lost and confused with my life. And my mom was like, just go, just go. And I was like, yeah, I'm just going to stay a month and I'm going to come right back. And oh gosh, that is not what happened. It's so crazy. Um, so then you found the farm on Workaway.
Yeah.
Did you message other places?
No, that was the first one, and he answered me back
Yeah.
one day later, and I said, "Okay, let's go."
And what were did you have any expectations? Like you saw a little bit the pictures and did you think that you were going to live something specific or
No, no expectations. Really, I don't know. I was really in an intuitive.
state?
Oh, yeah.
You kind of put rational aside and irrational were arguing. You're like, rational, go away for a second. I'm just going to
Yeah.
stick with this one.
My irrational was like screaming to,
Go.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
We met
So,
at the farm.
yeah. And what about you? What was your path?
Yeah, I guess I'll go as farther back as you went. So the first, like the start of that year. What year was that? 2023.
Yeah.
Um, I was living in Toronto, big city, and I was with also a boyfriend, a partner, living in an apartment that I really liked, and I had my little life there. And I was feeling heavy and lost, and yeah, there was something that was off. Um, and so my ex-boyfriend and I, we took a trip to Europe, and this was the first time I had ever been to Europe. And we went to a bunch of different places and saw some friends that were there at the time as well. And the last place that we went to was Portugal. That was the last kind of on our itinerary. And wow, I had no idea what Portugal would be like. And when we came back from the trip, I remember thinking like this is a special place. Especially we had only really stayed in Lisbon, because he was more of a city person and he liked doing city stuff, and I enjoyed that too, like going to markets and coffee shops. But just the city had this, I don't know, it's so cheesy to say, but this energy to it. And there was all these colorful buildings and people, I don't know, there was this thing. And so I came back to Canada and then I decided to make my first move because I was feeling really not happy with myself. And I went back to Montreal because I used to live in the French part of Canada, which is where I'm from. And I wanted to be back with French. And so I said goodbye to my ex-boyfriend. We kind of broke up during this move as well and decided, okay, I'm going to go live in Montreal. I'm going to go new chapter, thinking it was gonna be, you know, the next step, the next, I was gonna live there for the next moments of my life. And after a few weeks of being in Montreal, I was like, I don't want to be in a city anymore. I think that's the problem. So the problem wasn't Toronto, the problem was just the city in general. And also similar to what you said, I kind of, there's also my relationship that was something else that was changing and evolving. So I'm in Montreal and I'm like, I don't want to be here. I want to be somewhere like in nature with hippies. Like that was the idea. It's like I just want to be with people that don't talk about social media, Instagram, with not caring, Friday night where we're going out. And I was going through a breakup that summer, and my friends were just like, let's just drink and let's go sleep with guys. And you're young and you're beautiful, and let's go. And I was just like, no, I don't want to do those things. Like, I was feeling. I wanted to be this little witch that crawls into like the woods and escapes from reality and just needed to be retreating in this something else. And I was also studying environmental science, and I was like, okay, let's just go work on a farm. I want to touch some dirt. I want to be in nature. And the only way that I could rationally excuse myself was like, I'm gonna go work on a farm, which is so stupid why we do that. Like, oh, I'm gonna figure out a rational way to make this irrational move, It's just like, just make the move. Who cares? So I went on the farm, and the problem that I did is, me, I don't look at things properly. I just throw myself and then just like, haha. And I thought that the farm, this was my expectation of the farm. Um, it's gonna be this old Portuguese man, and he's gonna have a really nice, organized farm, and we're gonna be maybe five volunteers there. We're gonna wake up at 5 a.m. We're gonna do some farm work, and then that's it. It's gonna be very simple. Oh gosh. Why didn't I read the profile? Because none of the things on the profile said this. I just messaged, you know, Fernando, farm owner, being like, I'm studying environmental science. I am coming because I want to learn more about organic farming. And these are the dates. And exactly like you said, the next day he replied and was like, yeah, yeah, come, come. And oh gosh, that was not the same
But
thing.
you have an idea of what it would look like? Because I remember you, because I came to take you to the train
Yeah.
station, with a dirty car of
Oh, yeah. Oh
and
gosh.
you and your friend arrive, and you were with your fancy clothes, with your
Oh gosh,
bag,
yes.
with your
So,
all white or pink
oh,
skirt,
such a city girl, like, and I
with
look
your
at that
boot.
and I'm just like, I had no idea what the fuck I was getting into. Like, clearly, I just showed up there, and I'm still like this. I really like, art and fashion, and I like clothes, but I come to this farm and I bring corsets and skirts
All
and
white.
dresses all in white. Yes, all white clothes. And Yeah, and then it's you guys. So it's sweet because we kind of arrived at the same time. You arrived the day before, I think. Yeah. And I was late,
Because you lost
obviously. I
the train, or you lost,
yeah.
yeah, maybe.
Yeah, of course. I didn't get the right train and then blah, 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 and all these things. And even on our way there, we were supposed to take a train, but we took a bus. I don't know why we took a bus. It's a miracle we ended up at the farm. But yeah, and you were standing there on the platform with a few other volunteers, and we were like, oh, it has to be them. Like, there's all these people coming out of the train with their luggage, and then there was just, I remember four of you standing there in like farm clothes or like pajamas and this and that, and just like standing there, and I was like, okay, I guess this is them. And then you're like, follow us. And we go into the car and it's this dirty Jeep and it's filled with things and we're just there like, okay, let's go.
You had to take the door because you were scared that
Yeah,
there
the
would be
door,
over.
yeah, I was sitting in the
You were in the
trunk.
back. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then the farm. And it's interesting because I think both our stories show that like, especially with all the people that we met there, that like there's really all kinds of people that come. Like there's people that are super city focused and like are very clean and this and that. There's others that like have been traveling, like hitchhiking and like are like don't have any money and are super like hippie and this and that. Then you'll have like older people that are like retired and are coming through. It's just like this big melting pot of all kinds of peoples with all kinds of different stories. So yeah, that's where we met. That and what do you, I guess a question, I don't know if I've ever asked you this in our friendship. What were your first impressions of of me over of us, our dynamic? Do you remember?
Mm. I really liked your energy. But I remember also that when you arrived at the train station, I hugged your friend, but I didn't hug you, and I don't know why. Um, but yeah, I had a good impression, but I was also more shy, so I was just more observing and appreciating from my quiet corner.
Yeah, it's true that I'm not a hugger. Even with like my really good friends, I'm not that much of a touchy person. And I remember during our friendship as we evolved, of course, I noticed that you were more shy with your words, but one thing I liked about you was the fact that you're not that shy when it comes to physical attention. Like very quickly, maybe we didn't hug that first day, I don't remember, but very quickly you would play with my hair, you would be like, giving me little hugs in the morning or like when we would pass each other, like you were not shy with your physical affection, which I really liked because I'm super shy with my physical affection. I'm the last person to ask. I'm like, okay, yeah, we can hug. Okay. You know?
Yeah, I just need a first step to completely open myself.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but yeah, that was something about hugging that I really liked in the farm. Also, when we arrived, everyone was hugging everyone, and I was like, "Oh, I love this. I need some hugs."
Yeah.
Like,
How
it's
did
so
you feel
welcoming.
like the contrast between, oops, I don't know. How did you feel like the contrast between the people that you met, that you were living with and that you were with before in Italy, and then in this kind of context, like how the people were like interacting with each other? Did you feel a difference?
Um, I feel I felt less boundaries between people, more humanity, and that was something that I really needed because I was looking for that so badly. So I was really, oh, that's a um that's fresh air.
Yeah, yeah. And I talk a lot about like, in the city and social media and um how for me it really influenced like the way that people would interact because it always felt like there was walls between me and people. And when I would go to social parties or stuff like that, I would always end up like trying to break these walls and spending a lot of energy just trying to get like to a real conversation with someone. Um, and then yeah, exactly at the farm, there's no really, I mean, there's internet, there's when there is internet. But we weren't on our phones, so that for me was very like nice and like refreshing. But I would also say even like despite the phones, like it feels like the people didn't have motives, like they didn't want something from you at the farm. And I think outside in my life, at least before, it felt like, oh, I'm talking to this person and now these two people are arguing, so I'm not going to talk to her. And I don't know, this kind of this weird, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Um,
How was it for you in Italy, like living with people your age and like did you feel interactions were hard? Like,
yeah, because I felt that my uh energy was not matching with people around me. There was a lot of ego, a lot of uh surface, really superficial. Um, and I really felt the need to go deeper into connections with people, into growing with people. Um, and yeah, I felt that in the farm that was um more um yeah, more connection.
yeah, yeah. Uh, it's hard to like I guess there's a lot of factors that go into it. And of course, when I would talk about, the farm after having lived it, a lot of people would say, yeah, but takes a certain kind of personality to end up on a farm in the middle of nowhere, Portugal. And so it's normal that we would kind of all be on the same frequency. But I would say it didn't stop arguments from happening living in this community. It didn't stop, having bad days as well. And, but what was interesting is it felt like there wasn't, yeah, these walls between, um, or I guess there wasn't that much ego at the farm. A lot of people were just generally trying to be themselves and go to the root of who they are rather than how they want to be perceived and how they want to impress people. And for me, that was a big thing because when I came, I was like, exactly like wearing my fancy dresses and talking about the city and these things. And not so much social media, but I was kind of on this different, having spent the week at Lisbon and being super, partying and being really tired and craving something deeper. But even though my inside was really craving it, it seemed like I had to deconstruct the patterns that I was used to social wise. And I think it took me a few weeks to like even stop wearing makeup at the farm. Not that to say, but to kind of really start allowing my true self to exist around people without trying to manipulate myself to look a certain way or to say the certain things, and to just be like blah blah blah.
Yeah. I would say also that there is uh invisible consciousness that is created by all the individuals that creates the unity. And probably that's also an energy that we cannot see, with our eyes, but we can really feel with our soul. So, when you arrive in a place like this, your energy really fast shifts on another level. So maybe
Yeah.
that's also something.
Yeah, that's true. You know, we were telling these stories about how it was like a vortex there and how you would get stuck at the farm and all these transformations would happen. Um, would you say, so would you say that after the two, you almost lived 3 months there, same as me.
Mhm.
Would you say
Yeah.
that after leaving there, you felt this change, like in your, I guess, in yourself in a way, like that you took some of that consciousness that was there and it was clearer to you, like some sort of clarity? Because when you came to the farm, yeah, there was excitement, but there's also confusion of like, where am I going? How did it feel when you were leaving?
Um, I think that after that 3 months, my uh, a wound that I had before started to heal, and I could see things with other eyes completely. I had uh I was really grateful for all the people that I met and for all the experiences and how I was able to feel and perceive people and uh even myself. Um so I realized because before I felt not understood by people around me and I was seeking so much for people that I felt connected to. And so after that, I felt release. I felt really joyful, even though I was leaving my second family because I could use my second family a lot of times. And but in my heart, deeply, I was really calm because I felt that that was true. And so I don't have to have the fear of losing what's true for me.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing, like the how much it felt true and honest, and it was always kind of the reciprocated in a way that it felt like everyone was being very true and honest all the time while we were there. And you feel immense love. I feel like the biggest love that I felt in friendships, really in friendships, was at the farm because it was this both of us coming exactly how we are, meeting each other exactly, you know, come as you are, like you were saying, and
Mhm.
and then just being compassionate towards that and honest, like this is who I am, and you know,
And easy, I would say also. We are so used to living a not easy.
yeah,
We complicate our lives so much, and there was easy.
yeah, yeah. It was easy, even in, and I know this sounds contradictory, but even in the hard parts, like
Yeah.
in the sense of art, yeah, even like we had a few arguments there. I wouldn't even call them arguments. I would just say more like miscommunications that just, and you know, we talk about it as this very, it feels like this farm. All right, okay, we're back and we've got a new 40 minutes session
Woo.
set. Um, I do you remember what we were saying when it cut off? Like specifically, no. But we were kind of talking about, yeah, the fact that it's a very honest place and it what's what we were all saying when we're at the farm, and I think people that are still there today say the same thing, is it feels like it's people that are lost that go there, clearly in the middle of Portugal. Um, But I like how you started your story because you were saying there's this rational side and there's this irrational side and they're kind of arguing with each other. And it feels like people who end up there are people who are like, okay, let's put the rational aside for a second and let's go volunteer at this farm, make no money, work, and be living with a bunch of strangers very intimately. I don't think anyone can, you're brushing your teeth side by side, you're sleeping and you're smelling the farts of the person, the stranger next to you, and you're cooking for 25 people. And so you're really putting away
You're living with 50 cats that are
50 cats
crazy.
that are, yeah, that's another thing. Your comfort, it's not even your comfort zone, it's your comfort is kind of, at least our modern day comfort is put aside. And so rationality is out the window. It's like you're eating, like you were saying with 50 cats, there's cats jumping on you and you're throwing them off to eat. It's a special place. Um, so it's all these people that are willing to put their rational like aside for a second and just follow their intuition that leads them here. And then people are just deconstructing everything there. Like talks about, of course, philosophy and religion. And there's a beautiful meditation room, and some people would host, either meditations or even just sharing circles. And even despite the meditation room, like the nature around you is really nice, and there's no noise, there's no street noise. And we went on a hike us together, and I remember we could look so far out and it felt like the world was huge. We would go swimming in the lake and naked under the stars and really living like hippies. And so there is this magic to the place as well that the people bring, but I also think that the place has. And yeah, this brings up, I feel like, a lot of things out of people. Like
Mhm,
people that would be very rational start saying very beautiful poetic things about life, and you're just, life seems to be a little too beautiful almost, like, like painfully beautiful.
mhm,
um yeah, what are some things that like you feel like you've learned there, because you were already, you were one of the people that I had the first conversations about, family constellations and astrology. And you were talking about energy. I was like, what is energy? Like, I don't even know what she's talking about. And um so yeah, tell me a bit about how all these things are in your life, and how maybe how the farm also brought them even more out for you, or
mhm. So I grew up with a spiritual mom, I would say.
I've met your mom,
So
definitely.
so for sure that helped me to be more aware of the energetic world around the world that we are used to live in. So the materialistic and scientific world where energy, uh, souls, spirits are not allowed to be.
Yeah.
Um, and so I think that this part was really talking with me and calling to, uh, yeah, I was trying to get out of my body.
And like as a kid, like how did you feel about your mom being like strange, and in a good way, but in this way of like you see your friends' parents and they're not doing necessarily the same thing as your mom.
Yeah, I've never felt that was something unnatural around this. Also because when I was a child, I was able to see some energetic beings, and when I was telling this to my mom, she was saying, "Oh, this is their names." And so I've never had the feeling of, "Oh, I'm weird. I have to hide myself from the society because they are not gonna understand my person." So for sure that helped me. And in the
What about
farm,
like as a teenager, like in your interactions with like, let's say you had a boyfriend, would you share that side of yourself? Would you share this more whimsical side of yourself?
yeah, I think that when I was a teenager, this side was not so present. Of course, I started to believe in the soul and in karmic situations and in reincarnations.
And you would
Uh,
know these things because the books would be in around your house and your mom would be talking about it.
I don't know why.
Okay.
I have no idea, but I was really feeling that that was my reality, my
Like you
truth.
were interested in those things and those things were coming to you,
Yeah,
this
yeah.
information.
And there was not even so much questioning about this. I didn't have to search for soul and reincarnations to believe in that. That was,
It was just you knew, like you remembered.
yeah, I
Yeah.
just felt that that was true for me. And so yeah, when I was in also in the farm, um everything started to be more clear for me. I would say also before the farm, but my consciousness started to uh see clearly um things, um because maybe before we're more in the shadow. uh was maybe there was maybe a feeling but not really clear. And yeah, it's a path, so I cannot really remember a moment specifically where I shift my energy or my vision.
No.
um but
Yeah, you're walking along this path of life, and there's flowers and trees and things that are coming up. And as you're walking and like absorbing these things, you're making links and you're remembering and but it's not like, oh, I saw this one flower and this one flower whispered in my ear, this is the truth. And then you're like, oh my God, I remember this one flower. It's kind of this
yeah.
just continuous thing.
Yeah, but I think that for some people is like this. Some people needs not needs, but maybe they have a really quick shift in their perception of things. Maybe
Yeah.
um for a problem that they had, or for, I don't know, a car accident, something really big that
Yeah.
really changed
Yeah,
their
that's true. That's
thing.
true.
But
But
for someone is sometimes it's more like a path that you are following as you are growing naturally. You don't have to think, oh, now I have to really
yeah,
be concentrated to
grow, grow, grow.
grow exactly. But yeah. And what about you? Like, did you feel in one specific moment, maybe you have a memory?
Yeah, it's strange because I didn't grow up with like necessarily I mean I've been to your house and it's looks like a fairy house and definitely grew up with like parents that were very like modern technology. There's TVs, it's very much there's no really books around my house, like a few um my mom likes self-growth and spirituality and stuff like that, but not in her day-to-day life. And the thing I would say that would be the most strange for my childhood was that my dad believed in ghosts and was ghost hunter for a bit. And so as a kid, it was like, yeah, ghosts exist, that was the a thing. And I studied a lot of science and I was very good at science and physics. And for me, all of a sudden it became like, whoa, hold on. It feels like science is supposed to be able to explain these things. And the way that I pictured it was just like science is taking the really long way of trial and error and really going through this um literal like taking notes and being very literal. And then let's say the spiritual, the paranormal, or whatever word you want to put, like the magical was the opposite, going like the same thing, but on the other end. And it was just a question of time before they meet, if they
Mhm.
ever meet, which they don't need to. So then I was sitting in physics class and I was like, wait, like both of them are true at the same time. It's just that they're coming at in different directions. And I think that's kind of where my spiritual personal journey started from, was this idea of like um being, yeah, super like broad so I can understand science and spirituality and religion and kind of mix them all together. But this was really at the back of my head because I kind of did it personally. I was always very shy about my thinkings because, I would I remember this one moment. I was in the metro with a friend living in Toronto, and we were talking, and I was like talking about time and my childhood and how, for me it felt like I could close my eyes and I was 10 years old. I could close my eyes, I was 5, and just having this. And she was looking at me as if I was like genuinely insane, and she was like, why are you thinking of this? And then I that's kind of how I was confirmed, okay, people don't talk about these things. And so I would just read my books on my own. So what was beautiful at the farm for me was I was like put into this bowl of people that were just like, yeah, let's talk about the moon. What's feminine energy? Let's talk about, time and astrology and precious stones or whatever knowledge people would bring from their own. And so my first conversation that I remember us really having together was when we were walking to the lake, and you were talking to me about, and I was trying to look cool. I'm gonna admit to you, I was like, okay, act like you understand. And I was like walking next to you, and you were like, yeah, family constellations. I couldn't even understand what you were saying. And you seemed so like self-aware about the world around you and about yourself in this talk. And I was shocked because I had really good friends before. I always had. And I grew up with like, yeah, a lot of positive energy around me. I had good friendships, but never spiritual friendships. And this was kind of the first time that I was able to like talk to someone and I was impressed. I was like, oh shit, like, oh no, this is really cool, but also I don't know what to say. So the farm for me was like a really beautiful, safe space to kind of be allowed to like be open about my curiosity and my questions about life, like talking about death and talking about um feeling existential and what karmic cycles and all these things, but also like other religions, and I don't know, all these ideas being talked about in an atmosphere that, yeah, I didn't have before. So I guess like you were saying, like some people have a car accident and then it all opens. And like for me, okay, this is a terrible metaphor, but my car accident was the farm. It was like all of a sudden like sped it up because I could communicate and also hear new ideas. And even in my journal, you see it because like before the farm, it's like this boy did this and now my this job, blah blah blah. And then at the farm, it's like you need to be like water. You need to be like air, the soul is, and then it's all these notes, and I'm like, where am I grabbing this from? Like out of, and it's this consciousness that was floating above the farm that's still there. Um, yeah. So yeah, the farm was really good for this. And how did you feel leaving the farm and kind of having this new for you? How was that? Because you kept traveling and then you went back home.
Yeah, at the end, I really felt that I was ready to leave the farm. So for me, leaving that place because it was a really important and big step in my life. But at the end, I was ready. So it was not so uh so bad or so heavy. Of course, when I was outside the farm, I was really, really emotional, really sad. I was into the city life and surrounded by people, I don't know, in the technology and with noise and
Yeah.
I don't know, all the things. And I was feeling really lost and overwhelmed. Um, but then I came from 25 volunteers in a farm to only me volunteering in another place in a completely empty place. I was
Yeah.
just me working in this huge place with no one else. So it was also a big step, but that was really interesting.
Yeah.
So, but
And
yeah, leaving the farm
I
was
have a
okay.
video of you, me and Leia sitting on the top of the Jeep, going down the hill to go drop you at the train station. And we were like, let's not sit in the Jeep, let's sit on top. And the sun is kind of setting, like it's golden, and you have like little tears in your eyes, and you're just like, so yeah, I think it's a necessary step, and there'll be, I'm convinced, other farms in our life, not necessarily a farm, but these places that serve as like a refuge and almost like a cocoon for like the new butterfly to kind of this place that protects us and that we work on ourselves and we leave. And yeah, you seemed way more at peace with leaving than I was. I was like, I'm gonna come back. I'm never leaving this place. Like you can count on me. And time goes crazy fast because I remember at the farm being like, wow, this is the happiest I've ever been. And I can't believe there'll be a moment in my life where I won't be here anymore. And now I'm like, oh, it's been more than a year ago since this whole thing. Time keeps on. We'll talk about time in another conversation, but in the human sense, time keeps on going, and um, I'm not in this moment anymore, and I'm okay. And I was so dramatic, and I really didn't want to leave this cocoon. And I was like, and yeah, leaving, you had already left, and it felt like the friends that I had the entire time were kind of all kind of gone or was going to leave. So at least that was easier. But yeah, I went traveling afterwards, and the contrast, like you said, between being 25 people and then oop, I'm alone again. that was that was interesting because I carried all your energy with me. It was like I was waking up in the hostel and being like thinking you and Leia were sleeping beside me.
Yeah. That happened to me also.
And it was like I was living with these ghosts, but in a good way, but like walking alone in Venice being like, oh, I wish I like was with you and we could like go have a pastry or like eat a gelato and just, exist together and, but everyone was moving in other directions, and it was like letting go of that the time that we shared together was in this context was over. It was a grief, like a sort of grieving of like, wow, I was so lost before. Now I'm so happy, and you're telling me I have to let go of this? No, no, you know?
And if you can think of something like the biggest lesson that you learn in the farm
Oh,
about yourself.
um, oh wow, that's a good question. Do you have an answer for that?
I don't know.
Okay. Okay, I'm not gonna say that this is the biggest because then like after this call, I'll be like, oh no, there was also this, and so I'm just gonna go with my kind of I think the lesson that I learned at the farm was for me, it was about the people that I met and the friendships that I was choosing, and that all the actions, I guess it was a lesson in manifestation, truly, if I'm being honest, that every little action that I'm choosing in my life. So choosing to be at this farm, choosing to live more sustainably, choosing the type of work that I want my body to be doing. Okay, this is the type of work that inspires me. Choosing the way that I want to spend my time, uh, the food that I want to eat, and all these little things really add up to feeling happy. Or besides feeling just the reality that you create for yourself. And I think we take that for granted. I think we do a lot of compromises in our I used to a lot, being like making choices because it ticks off this many boxes, and okay, maybe it doesn't have this but it has this, and then you end up making a lot of choices that kind of do that, and then you create a life around yourself that is kind of just like you half like it, and but you've created this life, that was all those were all your decisions, yet we kind of convince ourselves that it was out of our control. And I think the farm for me was like clearly like, okay, that you can live the life that you decide. You can be, sitting in a hammock with a friend learning Italian, drawing something you're going to be painting on a mural, and later on be eating fresh fruits from the fresh vegetables from the garden and homemade gnocchi if you want. That could be your life. It's just you got to make the decisions that create this life for you. I think that was a big eye-opening thing for me. Yeah. What about you?
That's true. Because we are used to grow up in a society where we live with a lot of compromises, more compromises than really following our heart
Yeah.
and our truth. So it's it seems impossible to live a life that you truly want to live and to do the things that you really want to do without compromise. And of course, sometimes you need to find the balance with the
Yeah.
things that you like and the things that you don't like
But we
or
were talking about this, and like for me, the difference was, let's say gardening work. I know that this is the type of work that I enjoy doing. Do I like being sometimes in the dirt for like 8 hours? Do my hands sometimes hurt or my knees? Or, I've never been in the dirt for 8 hours, so I'm exaggerating already, but like 5 hours, Or do I sometimes not feel like it, or does the work feel different to me? Of course, but at the end of the day, I know that the compromise that I would rather make is that versus being, okay, I'm gonna be working on my computer, doing so much screen time, and then I'll be able to, travel. No, fuck that. I want to, does that make sense? It's like the
yeah,
compromise is different.
there is still flavor in the compromise.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. There's still it's you know, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, do you think that there was one lesson in particular that the farm taught you, this experience taught you?
Um, one that comes up in my head now is about trust. I I understood how um like how to trust myself and my decisions and my feelings and to trust also the world around me because before I was really negative about life and about people um and after that my vision completely changed. So when I left that place uh I had another version of me with this, yeah, this deep trust that I understood that guides me all through my path, my life. And each decision that we take, uh, is guiding us. And that's probably I already told you this phrase. Um, you are only only at the end you are able to connect all the dots. So don't worry if in the path you are not able to see the connection, because only at the end you will be able to look back and
Yeah.
see all the connections. So that's probably the one of the biggest lessons that I had.
Trusting your trusting this
Yeah,
irrational
trusting
side that was
everything.
yelling at you. That was crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
trusting everything,
Yeah.
that there is no wrong.
No.
We are always doing the right thing.
That's a big lesson that there's no wrong, that it's always the right thing.
Hmm.
Um, there's no wrong or right, essentially. It's just
Yeah.
it's you're oh, it's telling me 10 minutes. Okay, we'll wrap this up. Um, but yeah, trust. You know what someone said to me? This is a family member of mine when I came back from Portugal and I was, this big trip, and clearly my life was changing, because of this realization that, okay, I kind of know how I want to create my life. And then I come back to this much more strict and rigid world with appointments and times and this and that, and I was in the car with my cousin, and she goes, "You know what? You're as lost as you were before you left for this trip." And I started laughing, and I was like, "Okay." It's like in the sense of really this trust that, like, wow, there can be really confronting moments of like people around me or things around me that can really um like that could have been something that could have made me scared of, like, wow, this person's judgment is telling me that I shouldn't be trusting myself. I'm as lost because the words that I was saying, I guess, coming back from this trip were so disconnected from the reality that was here, of the people here, that I probably sounded crazy, you know? And so for them, it felt like I was lost. I had lost my way. And for me, it was like I feel such clarity, And yeah, trusting. I mean, the winter that followed for me was very difficult in staying with that trust. And this I was talking to with Helen, which I don't know if I should say her name. Anyways, this woman at the farm. I don't think anyone will find her, but yeah, and she was telling me this beautiful story when I mentioned this, when your trust or your intuition is being questioned, like your faith is being questioned, not by others directly, but just by yourself, even because of what you're seeing around you. And this is a very intense story, and I'm not pretending that I've lived this at all, but it's kind of the same, I guess, idea. Was she was talking about in Tibet, the, like, les moines, how do you say, the the people that had to, what is the monks, there you go,
Okay, monks, yeah.
the monks in Tibet, when they got invaded, and there was a lot of like horrible acts that were committed against them, and a lot of them, if not all, had to either flee the country or, and so the ones that did flee the country, so these Tibetan monks that have lived their entire lives in the beautiful, like, picturesque place, paradise that is Tibet, and having generations and generations before them having done the same thing as them, and meditating and being super, in tune with their faith and their lifestyle, and being very secluded from the outside world, so really living in this faith, from forever. And then she was saying, imagine the monks that ended up in the States, United States, and ended up, she was like, imagine the ones that ended up in New York. Imagine being a Tibetan monk, having fled your country, having fled this horrible thing, having to leave your home, that carries all this faith. And now you are in New York with billboards flashing, with people doing drugs in the streets, with crazy capitalist people that are just like, and then the poorest people living in all this craziness. And you have to be faithful. You have to stick to um, this, you know, understanding of God and the universe that you were living in with that kind of a shock. This same planet has these two places, and now you're in this one place and it exists, it's there. What are you going to do? How are you going to live your faith? And of course, I am not that at all. But when I went from the farm to living here with all, everything that's North America, capitalistic, away from the people that I love very deeply, my friends, my second family, and I was just like, I need to find some sort of remembering, like some sort of mantra, interior mantra to, and I thought that that story was very inspiring, very inspiring. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Um, I don't know what we expected out of this talk. I don't think I expected us to talk about the farm that much and feel
No.
like um but yeah, so many other questions about your path as a young woman, young girl, young woman, and the books that you've read and the things that you've seen and experienced. But next time we can get into the more emotional aspect of our beings and less adventurous.
Yeah.
Um, was there something that you wanted to quote or add to conclude this conversation? Like a book? No, no book. No. You already said your quote about, yeah. Um, I think, I have it in front of me. I have it in French. No, we'll leave it for next time. We've said so much and I feel like my head is all over the place now. But thank you for doing this and
Thank you.
for sharing everything that you shared. Um, I think this went well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So we
see you
conclude.
next time.
See you next time. Um, see you next time. What's the name of our thing? What did we call it?
Uh, walk in the garden?
Thing,
No.
things in our garden.
Things in our garden.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
There was a couple of, titles that were potential, but we chose things in our garden. And yeah, Mira is in Italy right now, and I'm in Canada, but probably for the next ones, we will be.
Who knows?
Who
Don't
knows? Who
know.
knows? Maybe one day we'll be beside each other doing this discussion.
Yeah.
Mais merci, grazie mille, Mira. You're
Merci à toi.
you're beautiful in your little room, and I miss you. And yeah, we'll end this recording, and then we'll talk.
Thank you.
How do I end this? Uh,
Je sais pas.